Hi Prêt-à-Template designers, this video is going to be a demonstration on how to render a realistic Pirarucu skin. I'm going to tell you about that later, but first let me introduce you to the new patterns family. So I'll take a large brush, check into the patterns library and scroll down. So the last row is the new family. Let's watch each of them and see how they look like. So here's the first one. A really interesting texture. Here goes the second one. It's really rich and patterned. And this is the third one. This one is really interesting. I think it would be very cool to incorporate it in some design. This one I will use today to demonstrate the mule shoe, and this is the last one. Looks something like this. Looks like scales. Let me zoom in. Okay, I'm gonna show you an Osklen website, and Oscar Metzavat's well-known line of Pirarucu leather accessories from Osklen received the GCC brand mark eco certification, which is based on social, environmental, and ethical criteria. Osklen developed together with Instituto E a project to reuse Pirarucu skin. This is a fish from Amazon basin. It's really big. Its length is over 2 meters and weighs over 100 kg. Usually the skin was discarded before, but now it's reused and empowering local community and contributing to local biodiversity. You can see the range of their accessories with Pirarucu skin. Super interesting, and I'm going to save these pictures of a mule in black color to use them as a reference. You can check online the information about this company. I think it's really interesting, and about its founder, Oscar Metzavat. He's really interesting designer with a lot of ideas about the new luxury and sustainable fashion. So I'm starting with this template of a mule. You can find it in the shoe section, the mule. And I'm going to pull the tab with a picture of my reference. I'll just quickly adjust this photo in order to be able to see it better. I'll rotate it and crop the background. And this one I will leave as is, just so that it is in the same position as my template, only mirrored. So I'm beginning to trace the template. I'm going to first use the layer to trace all the outlines, and then I will use another layer to color underneath the outline on the bottom layer. So kind of like a two-step approach to the rendering. And I'm thinking it's good to do it with pencil, but I'll probably take a pen just to have a more strong outline, and I will start outlining everything step by step. So when it comes to this side, I don't want to use a pen simply because I don't want a rigid line. You can see there's a lot of texture. So I'm going to switch to a pencil and just give a very light line just for myself for the sake of knowing where the shape is, but it's going to be like a jagged line when I will start coloring it to show that the pattern that I apply is not just something printed, like a, you know, like a pattern that you can draw on top of material, but actual leather that has texture. So that is important. Now going to the sole of the shoe, I'm going to do this black part on the bottom first. And as you can see, it has this ribbed part on the backside under the heel. So first I'll start by marking the area of how much the black part takes space. Now also there's a detail in the middle. You can see this one over here. So I'm trying to think about the placement. As you can see, it's somewhere around here. And I'm going to mark this spot. Now everything from the back is going to have this ribbed edge. I'm thinking to use a pattern library with a striped pattern to represent that. Is going just to give me perfect results really quick without having to worry about it at all. So here's how I just add a stripe of this pattern. I'll quickly fix it using eraser. And it's going to be representing this texture for me. And now I will connect these individual parts, sort of like bricks with gaps in between. Okay, I'm bringing back my picture, and the only thing left to be done is the sole. I took this color from a standard palette of face colors, and I will do the same because I don't want the outline to be black, so it doesn't look cartoonish kind of. I want it to be a realistic drawing. That's why I'm going to use this color. So right now I'm trying to figure out the placement of this curve over here because there's going to be some textured pattern. And I just need to make sure it is exactly the same. So my image is mirrored, that's why it looks the other way around. And the writing is gonna be somewhere over here. Just to know the size of it, I just made these two dashes. So without the original template, it'll look like this. And it's time to move to another view. I also have a top view. Let's take a look at it. I really have a really big, nice picture. And the idea is the same. Once I have this color for the sole, I'll start with it and move on to tracing the black part. And the remaining part is to add some stitching. For that, use the second tool over here. Here are types of lines that you can incorporate, and I took this dashed line to do the stitched part on this line. I'm gonna do 2 lines of dashes, and that would be the end of the first outline drawing. Okay, next step is going to be texture. Make sure you have a new layer added, and with black color I'm going to start incorporating the texture that comes in the new family that I showed earlier. So go into the library, press plus and go all the way down to see these new beautiful patterns. And I'm going to start filling in the space with this pattern. And I will deliberately take it over the line just slightly here and there, because I wanted to represent the parts of leather that are textured and actually stick out a bit. And then when I will color, I will follow that idea. So nothing much, just simply filling in with the texture all the parts that have that leather. Okay, so this was the fun part, and now add one more layer and drag it under this texture to start adding some colors. We want the color to be behind the drawing that we have created in order to see these outlines always on top. So that's the idea, the layer under the drawing and texture. I took a black color with dragging the toggle slightly to the right to make it lighter. And I'm going to layer this color. I'm using a flat marker, so it gives this semi-transparent washes of color. And the thought behind this is not really to follow any specific idea of how to color it. First, I just want to drop some color on the black areas. Considering the edges here. So wherever I thought the texture would kind of spill out, I marked that before. I am doing the edge a little bit jagged, as you can see here in the front panel. But the rest of the shoe I am sort of just coloring to fill it in with some color. And then I will think where to maybe add some highlights. And the fact that the color isn't that smooth is actually my advantage, because with every natural texture, every natural material, it just works for the best. This is it, adding a bit of a shadow in the corner, but the transition is really strong, so I took a watercolor brush in order to get that soft transition. So now I'm working in a reverse way, adding light to the shadows, to the dark. So drawing with light on top of the dark surfaces, I'm going to take back the flat marker with some light gray color. And looking at the picture, you can see that some of the edges, they catch some light, they have some reflective properties, so not to go overboard with it, because there's actually not so much shiny edges, but it will help to define these borders from the main shoe. Since everything is black, it's all about those tiny differences on the edges where two surfaces meet. That will help to define them. And it comes to the most exciting part, this Pirarucu leather, how to make it alive. You can see these highlights here, they're so beautiful, and there's also shadows underneath each scale. So just by adding that, you're gonna lift up the texture from being just a flat print of scales into being actual scales. So you see I took the black color and I'm adding under every scale. But the idea here as well is to not overdo it. What do I mean? I mean that choose one part of this panel which will have a perfect pattern of light and shadow on the scales, and that the side of the shoe, as you can see, I'm just very abstractly treating it with dark color because you can't read these scales all the way, because the leather, it's not spread flat like on the table, it rounds, so the light doesn't treat the surface equally everywhere. Some places are kind of obscured by the shadow, some places they really reveal this beautiful play of texture. So that's exactly what I'm doing. I took the right side and I kind of dimmed it with this black color, and right in the center I'm going to really take my time and play with a few of these scales in a way that you would really be able to see the play of light on them. And I think it looks pretty good as of now. I might still touch it a couple of times, but this is a way to do it. I zoomed in and zoomed out constantly to cross-check with my reference picture. And now I'm switching to this view and I will repeat exactly the same steps to color this shoe. What's interesting about this view is the way the light touches the surface. It creates almost these diagonal lines, picking each side of the scale and creating this shadow. So I love that pattern. I will try and do something that looks like that. And these highlights, they really bring life to each scale in this texture combined with the pattern that we have applied before. It just works so gorgeous. I love how it looks. Really, it's nice. And I'm adding really light, shiny parts right now. I feel I can still treat this one with a little bit more light and bring it to life. I'm just saturating these highlights towards the center of the shoe, but just a very straight uniform line also doesn't look so natural, so I will create a bit of here and there effect, and I think it already looks really nice. Now small touches left to be done also on this shoe. I will complete it now with darkening this area. Maybe just doing a couple of touch-ups on these lines that have stitching to bring them out a bit more. I'm going to take this round brush or round marker, I'm not sure, and it's going to give me a non-transparent color, really just a flat block of color, and I'll fill in the entire outsole area. And the other part I will color with marker, the flat one, and slightly lighter color because I want to reveal these lines. If I go to dark, it will just blend, so I am going to make it slightly lighter and then just clean the edges. And here in the middle I have some color. I'm going to find that and another color over here. That's fine. I'm adding one more layer now, dragging it under to color the sole. Why under? Because I have a perfect edge of the black parts, and while I'm going to color the sole, I'm not going to take care of the edge because it's going to get hidden behind these black parts. Automatically I have a beautiful edge of the sole meeting the black part, not having to take care of that. I hope that makes sense. And I'm just using this off-white color, dragging the toggle right and left, finding a little bit of shadow, a little bit of light. I need to find this middle section where the stitching is. I'm not going to draw the stitching, but I will find it in a way of just giving a darker line there. And that'll do. And then I also have a pattern on the right side. Okay, so back to the picture. This is the texture that I need over here. So one more layer. And here's the fun part. I'm gonna look for a pattern that's ready. It's always fun to add something and it just changes things instantly, and I love these instant patterns. They're just so handy. You can go, I think, about using a few different options, but I think I have in mind this one is going to be, is just going to be perfect for this. I'll make it slightly lighter. I don't want it to stand out so much. Just a hint of this pattern. Again, I'm using a new layer for the pattern because why? I'm not currently disturbing any of my previous drawing. If I make a wrong move and it comes out a bit, see, I'm just going to clean it without disturbing any of my previous work. It's a non-distracting way of drawing. I love that. So now here I'm going to color the sole in exactly the same way with the same colors that I used before. Now that's finished, only the writing left. I'm going to just freehand it without sketching anything because I think it's pretty simple. Just making sure with my eyes, just marking where the middle is. There's 3 letters on the right, 3 letters on the left. Finding the height of each of them, approximately the space. I'm kind of writing in a way like I'm drawing. I'm not actually writing, I'm drawing the letters because I'm finding their placement and drawing all of them at the same time. I'm thinking of it as symbols right now, not letters, so kind of like this. There's one more writing here on the insole with this golden paint, and it's kind of like a worn-off look. I don't know if I can do that, but I'll definitely try to come up with something. So I'm taking this yellowish color. It's not actually yellow, it's just this ochre type of color, and I'm going to shift my layer here up front, and I will start using a straight line option. to get this division line over here. It will kind of set a dimension to my writing. So I know this is the width of the line. Then I will start adding this E, and I took the bigger brush also with a straight line to get that dash, approximately the same scale. And then I will switch to a curved line to freehand the E letter. Now I'll start drawing rest of the letters. Again, I'm not thinking of them as letters. That's why I don't need to actually turn my iPad to see what I'm writing. I imagine these are just abstract symbols, and all I need to do is make sure they're the same width and just copying this word. Right, so how do I make it worn off? I'm going to add a layer on top of these letterings and try to get a darker color, darker version of the same color, and apply a pattern on top. I need that leather type of pattern, and I'll try this could work, I guess, but if I swipe it across, it's gonna be really difficult for me to remove it from around the letters with a razor because it's really small, these letters. So what I'm gonna do is I'll just do something like this, just a few touches here and there, and I think it will help me to achieve the effect. Yeah, I think it's good. Well, at least it's not flat, so that's already kind of halfway there. I'm gonna take a darker color to make that effect even more visible and do a few touches here and there. And yeah, I like how that looks. It's pretty similar. The last thing I can do in this illustration is add another pattern to the insole, and I'm gonna make one more layer under the writing, but on top of the coloring, so in between, using a leather texture. But I think this time I need this one is gonna work way better, and I need to match the color to the backdrop. So I'm using a lighter version over here on the light, and I will take a darker color for inside the shadow. You can't really see it inside the shadow, that's the idea. So I'm going to pick a darker color for over here and a darker for inside. Yeah, that looks good. Okay, so this is it. I really hope you liked this tutorial. Please give it a like and subscribe to this channel. Thank you for watching.